afternoon. Could you please state your name for the record, spelling both your first and last name?
Nick Stahlkey, Nick-Stahlke.
How are you employed?
I'm a forensic scientist with the State Crime Laboratory in Madison, Wisconsin.
And what sort of training did you have to go through to become a forensic scientist?
I have to have a minimum of a four-year degree or a bachelor's degree. My degree is in medical technology and chemistry.
And where did you get that from?
St. Cloud State University.
And then did you have any further training after that?
I have a lot of different training sessions that I've attended over the 30-plus years that I've been a forensic scientist.
Well, could you give us the highlights? What are some of the specific trainings you have?
Well, I had training in crime scene response processing. I had a course in advanced scene processing, a bloodstain pattern analysis, bullet trajectory, fracture match, or physical match, and all the other associated training that's required for the processing of crime scenes.
Okay. And is one of the things that you've had training and experience with luminol?
Yes, it is.
And what is luminol?
Luminol is a chemical when added to a scene that has the presence of blood, and a hydrogen peroxide will cause a chemiluminescence.
Okay, so it's a chemical that when added to blood, it'll cause it to react under a certain light?
Yes, it does. When blood is present and you add luminol, the blood reacts as a catalyst, causing the blood to actually luminesce or give off light.
Okay. And what is it used for?
We utilize luminol for determining whether or not there's a cleanup at a crime scene. I also like to use it for determining what has actually occurred, if there's been any movements within a crime scene that isn't necessarily understood from just the visible blood that we see at a scene. So it's helpful in identifying non-visible blood at a crime scene.
So it allows you to see blood that is not able to be seen with the naked eye.
That's correct.
In the course of this investigation, were you asked to luminol some vehicles?
Yes, I was.
And was one of those vehicles a Volvo belonging to a Krista Halderson?
It was.
And what, if anything, were the results of that luminol?
It was negative.
And what does that mean?
That means that, first of all, when we did the examination of that vehicle, we always do a visual examination. I did not see any visible blood. We followed that up with then the application of luminol, which again is you see a visible reaction for non-visible blood from the application of luminol, and I did not get a reaction from that.
Just pictures. And I'm showing you what has been marked as exhibits 342, 343, and 344. How would you describe exhibits 342 through 344?
Exhibits 342, 343, and 344 are photographic images of vehicles that I processed.
Okay.
In this case.
And I would move 342 through 344 into evidence at this time.
No objection.
They are received.
And I'd ask for the Elmo. Just want to let Jessica know I know. And 342. Was this the Volvo that you processed?
It is.
And no signs of blood in that Volvo.
That's correct.
And 343. Was that the Outback, Subaru Outback vehicle that you processed belonging to Bart Halderson?
It was.
Okay. And what result did you have with luminol with that vehicle?
Again, it was negative.
Okay. And then I'm going to show you 344. Is this another vehicle that you at least took a look at?
It is.
And did you perform luminol on this vehicle?
I did not.
And why is that?
The condition of the vehicle, all the items that were located within the vehicle would suggest that none of those items had been removed or had been replaced. All those items seemed to be in the condition that it had been for some period of time. So in my estimation, it wasn't necessary to attempt luminol for this particular vehicle.
And 344 is specifically the vehicle that was owned by Kat Melander, the girlfriend in this case?
That was my understanding.
Okay. So let me ask you, if I have something that is bloody, but I put it in and I put it in some sort of plastic, would luminol detect stains on the flooring underneath?
No, if there's no contact with luminol on the surface that is being tested with luminol, it will not detect or give any kind of reaction to the application of luminol.
So similarly, like putting on gloves, you don't see fingerprints. If you wrap something in a barrier, it would prevent the luminol from picking up on blood.
That's correct.
This was turned over. It says PowerPoint. I have an additional photo. I didn't put those in. That's fine. And sir, did you write a report in this case?
I did.
I'm going to show you what has been marked as Exhibit 548. Could you please describe Exhibit 548?
Yes, Exhibit 548 is a copy of my confidential report of laboratory findings.
And why do you write reports with the results from your investigation?
We always write reports so that everyone understands that we were there to, performing a duty, and those then, when we have conclusions that from our examinations, we need to report those to the
And is
agency.
Exhibit 348 a true and accurate copy of your report?
Exhibit 548?
I'm sorry, 548.
Yes, it is.
All right, I'd move Exhibit 548 into evidence at this time.
No objection.
It is received.
And just for completeness, Exhibit 303, is that a copy of your curriculum vitae?
Exhibit number 303 is, yes.
I would move Exhibit 303 into evidence.
No objection.
It is received.
Now, the cars were just a small part of what you looked at in this case. Is that fair?
Yes, it was.
I'm going to show you what has been marked as Exhibit 304 and Exhibit 305. And in connection to this case, you created a PowerPoint.
Yes, I was asked to do that, yes.
Okay. And Exhibit 304 is just the USB of your PowerPoint? And Exhibit 305 is a printout of your PowerPoint.
Exhibit 305 is that, yes.
Okay. I'd move Exhibits 304 and 305 into evidence at this time.
No objection.
They are received.
Let me me get it set up before I have you switch it, Judge.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, if you want to switch it.
I think we did.
All right.
Oh, there we go.
So Exhibit 305 is a PowerPoint with 23 slides approximately.
Yes.
Okay. And in the first slide, that's just the outside of the house that you processed.
That's correct.
And that house is the 4595 Oak Springs Circle address.
It was.
Okay. And what do we see on slide 2?
I like to describe this house as a tri-level, but it actually has 3 levels above ground, 4th level being the basement. So this would be the lowest level. This is the foyer at the front door. This off to the left is the family room. Behind us would be the entrance to the garage, and in the middle there, in the top center of the photograph, is the entrance to the basement or the lowest level.
Now, did you luminol the entire house?
No, we only luminoled those areas that of concern. And those areas were the basement, the foyer here. There's a bathroom then up on the top right corner of this photograph. We did that one as well, and then the garage.
Okay.
And the family room, if I didn't mention that.
Okay. And slide 3. How would you describe slide 3?
Slide 3 is the lowest level. This would be the basement. The basement was split basically in two, divided by a dividing wall. This would be the north half of the basement.
Okay. And how would you describe slide 4?
Maybe, I'm sorry, I think that's the actually the south side of the basement, because the front door is facing south. So this would be, when you go down the basement stairs to the right and just to the left, then that is on the north side of the basement, or the south side of the basement. This is the south side of the basement. This then is the floor of the south side of the basement.
Slide 5.
Well, the slide just before this was a photograph of the floor with white light. This is a photograph then with a long lens opening with no light at all other than the light that is being generated by the application of luminol, and then a small pop of light or flash so that we can get an idea of the relative positions of the items within the scene to the luminol itself. If we didn't do that, all you would see would be the luminescence of the luminol reacting to the presence of whatever it's reacting to.
Now, the blue area that's for lust, I believe you said, is that all blood that it's reacting to?
This could be blood that it's reacting to, yes.
Exhibit, or slide 6. What is slide 6 depicting?
Because I only applied small areas of luminol to the basement floor in small intervals or in sections. This is a second photograph of application of the luminol closer to the camera itself.
And you said that the luminescence could be blood. Could it be something else?
Well, it does. Luminol does react with bleach or any other chemical that has some metals in it. Also, some plant materials will give some false positives.
So if somebody had cleaned the floor with bleach, that might also respond to your luminol.
It can, yes.
What about hydrogen peroxide? Would that cause any luminol?
Well, to cause the reaction of luminol, actually luminol is part of the chemical reaction of luminol. When you apply luminol, you're applying a solution, a basic solution with luminol, and with the addition of hydrogen peroxide, which is an oxidizer, causing the luminol then to react to the iron that's in the hemoglobin of the blood to luminesce. So hydrogen peroxide is actually a part of this then. Hydrogen peroxide is also a good cleaning agent, or a bleach, which will remove stains and break down cellular material like blood.
Slide 7, what is the jury seeing?
Okay, slide 7 is the opposite direction of the previous slides. The previous slides had the camera in the position just this side of that small chest freezer, looking our direction. In this case, this photograph is looking in the opposite direction.
When you are luminoling this area and the area that we just looked at, and you're getting some fluorescence, is anybody else swabbing that area or testing it for blood in any manner?
Once we identify an area that is reacting, giving us a positive reaction to the application of luminol, we then swab it to get a sample, and then we test it again with phenolphthalein, which is a presumptive test for the presence of blood. And because luminol isn't specific to blood, we need a second test to determine if there is potentially blood present. And so we always follow up any positive luminol areas with a test, well, presumptive test called phenolphthalein, excuse me.
And did Greg Leatherberry, in this case, perform those tests?
I performed the phenolphthaleins. I think Greg may have assisted with that, but he collected all of those samples.
Okay. And did he perform, oh, you did the phenolphthalein though?
Yes.
Okay. And so going back to slide 5, did you swab and test any of that, slide 5?
Yes, we did.
And did it test positive for blood?
It did. Presumptive positive for blood, yes.
Sure. And slide 6, did you swab or test any of those areas?
I did.
And did any of those test positive, presumptive for blood?
It did.
All right. Slide 8. Oops, I'm sorry. 1 to 9. Slide 8. What is the jury viewing in slide 8?
Slide 8 is a view across the basement from south to north. The basement stairs is off to the left. The previous views in the previous slides would have been to our right, looking down the south side of the south half of the basement area. This is looking across from then the south side of the basement to the north side of the basement.
And slide 9. What are we viewing in slide 9?
Slide 9 would be then the north side of the basement.
Slide 10?
Slide 10 is the north side basement floor.
And then slide 11. What is the jury seeing in slide 11?
Slide 11 is the north side basement floor after the application of luminol.
And did you, after applying luminol and getting some fluoresced areas, were those areas swabbed?
We did swab some areas in the north side, yes.
Did you test them with phenolphthalein to see if they tested positive for blood?
We did. In this particular case, I don't recall if any of these were positive for presumptive test, presence of blood.
Sure, so it might have been bleach or some other cleaning agent.
Correct.
What is the jury looking at in slide 12?
This is the basement floor on the, again, on the north side, but closer to the stairs that leading down to the basement or leading up to the foyer.
And slide 13.
This is the same area, however, with after the application of luminol.
And how would you describe these results on slide 13?
These gave a very strong reaction to the presence of luminol. I believe that we also had a couple positive reactions to the presumptive tests of phenolphthalein as well. But there were some footwear impressions, apparent footwear impressions in blood in this area. And you can see that in this photograph.
How would you describe slide 14?
Slide 14 then is a view from the north side of the basement toward the stairs leading up to the foyer.
And slide 15?
15?
Yes.
Slide 15 is an image of the family room. There's a fireplace there. These are also some stairs that lead up to the upper floor. A kitchen in the background there. And the foyer is off to the right.
Slide
16?
16 and then right there, 16.
16. 16 is the fireplace hearth with a floor in front of that. Appeared that there was doing some construction in this, or renovating in this room.
Slide 17, just another view.
Yep, just another view of the same thing.
And slide 18. How would you describe slide 18 to the jury?
Slide 18 is the same view as previous view. However, after the application of luminol, this particular view would indicate there was some solution or a wetting of the surface that had occurred here. You can see that there's a little bit of a movement in drainage, or there's a flow pattern, for instance, for lack of better terminology here, of that luminescing area.
And
So possible cleanup as well.
And your training and experience with luminol, are you also trained in blood stain pattern or blood splatter analysis?
Yes.
Is there anything you can say about the blood staining of the basement area?
Well, you can see that there's a couple of very bright stains that are luminescing very brightly with blue. Those would be stains that are not necessarily diluted with any kind of a substance or a liquid. Those are fairly strong stains. The stains that we could visibly see in this area appeared to be more of a drip or a contact transfer.
And I'm going to go back a few slides and ask you about the blood pattern. Is there anything, this slide in the basement, slide 13, is there anything you can say about the blood pattern in that slide?
The only thing that, this is a real complex situation, I'd say, with a lot of different things going on. These are mostly transfers or just the contact of blood onto a surface. There's also some patterns then that would be consistent with footwear in blood. There's also drip patterns there as well. And there's some spatter stains off to the side or onto vertical surfaces near this.
And I'm going to go back to slide 5. Is there anything you can say about the pattern there?
These patterns are more general in that and diffuse in that it appears that there's been some wiping or cleanup.
Okay. All right, I'm going to go back to, I believe we were at 17. Slide 18 we already talked about. Slide 19, how would you describe slide 19?
In slide 19, these had some, or we have some visible stains. And the ones that are already marked were ones that Deputy Leatherberry had visibly seen and marked with these labels, adhesive labels.
And slide 20.
20 is an image taken after the application of luminol. You can see there that there's many more stains that are visible now due to the application of the luminol. These stains are very similar in characteristic, size, and shape as this visible stains that you could see and that were already marked.
Are you able to say anything about the pattern of or splatter of these stains?
These look like stains that were drip utilized in, or that are produced from gravity alone acting upon the bloody source with the blood dripping straight to the floor. There were a couple of stains that you can see some movement toward the bottom right that are somewhat smeared. These could be consistent with swipes or wipes.
Exhibit 21, a view before you luminoled.
This is the foyer. The front door is off to the left. The garage entrance is up toward the top of the photograph. And this is from the location at the top of the basement stairs.
Slide 22, how would you describe slide 22?
The entrance to the front of the house, entrance to the left at the end of that rug, and then the entrance to the garage there at the top with the door open.
And finally, slide 23. What do you see in slide 23?
Slide 23 is in following the application of luminol. We had a positive reaction to the presence of luminol here, just inside the garage door. And this had a pattern to it. It had appeared to be a contact transfer with the shape of a possible container that may have had blood on the surface of it.
Okay. And just like with the vehicles, again, if items such as a plastic tarp or other barriers were used, would that prevent you from finding blood with luminol?
Well, anything that would prevent blood from contacting a surface, which was then ultimately applied or had luminol applied to it, would not indicate or give a positive reaction to the presence of luminol.
And if blood was cleaned up with hydrogen peroxide, would you be able to find any traces of it?
Well, with luminol, because hydrogen peroxide is part of the formula of the luminol itself, it would not give a reaction. It would indicate that cleanup had occurred. It would be, but however, the hypochlorite or bleach does give a positive negative positive, false positive for luminol.
Are you familiar with lemon at all as a potential cleaning agent?
Well, I've heard of lemons possibly being used as cleaning agents. Lemons have citric acid, and we're all familiar with vinegar, which is acetic acid. So we know that acetic acid is a cleaning agent. It's a mild acid used in removal of mineral stains and things like that, or metal staining and things on that order. So, and mineral deposits. So lemons can be used as a cleaning agent.
It's also a nice deodorizer. Smells good.
Yes, vinegar does have a sour odor to it, whereas lemons would not have that.
Hold on one moment. And Analyst Stahlkey, did you test this last stain, slide 23, for blood?
I don't recall. If we collected it, we would have tested it. And since we collected it, I'm pretty sure I would have tested with phenolphthalein.
Fair enough. And the chemical compound H2O2, is that the chemical formula for hydrogen peroxide?
It is.
Okay. I have no further questions.
Cross-examination?
So I'm a bit confused. You said earlier that it could be blood, whatever is illuminating from the luminol, correct?
Correct.
And I believe the other assumption is that it could be bleach, correct?
Correct.
So whenever we see something illuminated on that TV or on the photographs, it could be bleach, yes?
Could be one or the other or both, yes.
And the only way you'd be able to do that is by doing that additional testing that you talked about with the phenolphthalein, correct?
That would give us more confidence that it is blood, yes.
And I believe you said that there were some areas where it couldn't be detected if what was being illuminated was in fact blood. Is that correct?
Excuse me, say that again.
Sure, yeah. I believe you had mentioned that there was some spots where it was illuminated and you did test for the presence of blood, but nothing was located or no further testing was done.
When we got a positive reaction for luminol, I would go to the area that had the strongest luminescence or fluorescence and swab that area. We then conducted a phenolphthalein, which is the presumptive test for phenolphthalein, or for blood. We had several negative tests, but we also had positive tests for the presence of blood. So there could be a combination of both things going on there.
I don't have any further questions. Thank you.
Any redirect?
Just briefly. And these areas were swabbed and samples were collected in the course of this luminol?
It was, yes.
And those were later sent to some of your colleagues at the Wisconsin State Crime Lab?
It would have been tested later on, yes.
All right, nothing further.
May this witness be excused?
Yes.
Thank you so much,
Released from
sir.
my subpoena then as well?
Is he released from his subpoena?
We'll talk later about that, but not for right now.
Not for right now. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.